Hey everyone! Today, we will visualize tabular data from such a technical task in order to get a beautiful and modern slide that will help you more successfully show information, draw the attention of listeners to those numbers that you want to focus on. We'll try to get it done in 20 minutes. Challenge accepted. Let's get started. Let's duplicate our first slide. To do this, we right-click on the thumbnail and select Duplicate Slide. You can also do this with the Ctrl-D keyboard shortcut. Now, to set the borders of our slide, turn on the guides. To do this, we go to the View tab and in the Show menu, turn on the guides. Now, with the Ctrl key held down, I left-click to drag the vertical guide to the left border to a value of 15. We will set exactly the same border on the right side. We drag the horizontal guide to the top border to the value 8. And we will set exactly the same value at the bottom border of our slide. Now let's take a look at the title of our slide. We will remove unnecessary information. Let's increase the right border of the text block to our guides. Select all the text in the block with its Ctrl-A key combination. In the Font menu, select the font Montserrat Black and increase the font using the Increase Font Size button to 36 points. Amazing! Now let's align our text to the guides using the arrow keys. Done. Let's take the table with the data out of the slide border. We will do the same with logos. This text block will be the header. Let's move it to the lower left corner, increase the right border to the guides. Now let's left-click and select all the text with the Ctrl-A keyboard shortcut. Let's choose Montserrat font and size 12 for it. Let's move the text block a bit onto our guides. Amazing! The footer is ready. In this area we will have the main elements of our slide. Let's get started. To do this, in the Drawing menu, select the oval object and draw an arbitrary ellipse. In the Shape Outline menu, select the No Outline option. Now in the Drawing menu, select the rectangular object and draw an arbitrary rectangle. In the Shape Outline menu, select the No Outline option. Move the rectangle to the middle of the ellipse with the left mouse button and increase its width so that both elements are the same. I select both elements with the left mouse button and holding down the Shift and Control keys, I drag them up to copy. Now move the ellipse to the upper border of the rectangle by holding down the left mouse button. Select the bottom ellipse and rectangle again and use the Ctrl-G keyboard shortcut to group them. Select the top elements, move them to the bottom, and now select the resulting column and move it to the center of the slide for ease of use. Great! We return the logos to the slide. They will be needed to recolor the columns in corporate colors. Select the upper ellipse with the left mouse button. Now, right-clicking on it in the drop-down menu, select the Format Shape item. Open the Fill menu on the right, click on the Fill button and select the eyedropper tool. Now left-click on the YouTube logo to recolor the ellipse red. However, our ellipse is in the background. To fix this, in the Drawing menu, click on the Arrange button and select the Bring to Front item in the drop-down menu. Great! Select the ellipse again with the left mouse button. In the Format Shape menu on the right, click on the Effects item, open the Shadow tab and select Inside Center in the presets to add depth to our ellipse. The transparency parameter is set to 60%, and the blur is about 30%. Okay, our ellipse is ready. Now, with the left mouse button, select the upper rectangle. On the right, go to the Fill and Line menu, and select the Gradient Fill item. By pressing the button, we remove one gradient stop, we need only 3 to work. With the left mouse button we arrange them along the edges and in the center. Click on the Fill button and select the already used red color. Now we do the same for the 2 remaining gradient stops. Now, to add depth to the column and make it visually look like a cylinder, for the middle gradient stop click on the Fill button again and select the More Colors parameter, and in the menu that appears, left-click and drag the gradient stop up to a lighter shade and press OK. The resulting gradient to a horizontal rectangle. Let's change it to vertical. Now let's move the gradient stops a little away from the edges, and move the central one to the left. Ready? Copy the style with the keyboard shortcut Ctrl-Shift-C, left-click to select the bottom element of the column and apply the fill with the keyboard shortcut Ctrl-Shift-V. Now our column looks like a cylinder. Let's add a reflection for it. To do this, select the lower element with the left mouse button and in the menu on the right in the Effects item and select the Reflection tab. From the ready-made presets, we will choose the first one. Let's increase the size parameter to about 60%, and blur to 6. Great! Let's add a caption for the column. Select text box from the drawing menu and left-click on the slide and write YouTube in it. Select the text with the Ctrl+A key combination. Set the alignment to the center, select the font Montserrat and reduce the height using the Increase Font Size button to 14 points. With the left mouse button, move the text block under the column. And now, holding down the Ctrl key to simultaneously change on both sides, with the left mouse button we will increase the borders of the text block. Let's take it a little higher. Now holding down the Shift and Ctrl keys with the left mouse button, drag the text block to the top of the column. Select the text with the Ctrl+A key combination and enter the numerical value from the table on the left for 2019. This is 15.52%. It seems our values are too small in size. Select the text block with the left mouse button and use the Increase Font Size button to increase the size to 16 points. Great! Select the column with values and hold down the Shift and Ctrl keys with the left mouse button and drag it to the side to copy it. Once again. Now select and copy the columns to the right of the central one. Select all 5 columns and left-click to move them to the right slide guide. Rename the column names. The second is Twitter. The third is TikTok. The fourth is Twitch. And the last one is Instagram. Let's move the screen a little to see the table and change the values of the columns in accordance with the table data. Let's add a % sign to the fourth value for the Twitch column. Now let's color the columns. Select the top ellipse with the left mouse button. Select the eyedropper tool. Left-click on the Twitter logo to recolor the ellipse in the corporate color. With the left mouse button, select the upper rectangle. Right in the Colors menu, click on the Fill button and select the already used color. Let's do the same for the 2 remaining gradient stops. For the middle gradient stop, click on the Fill button again and select the More Colors parameter, and in the menu that appears, left-click and drag gradient stop up to a lighter shade and click OK. Copy the style with the keyboard shortcut Ctrl+Shift+C with the left mouse button. Select the bottom element of the column and apply the fill with the keyboard shortcut Ctrl+Shift+V. For the third cylinder, select the upper ellipse with the left mouse button. Select the eyedropper tool. Left-click on the TikTok logo. But we have lost the shadow. To add it to the Format Shape menu on the right, click on the Effects item, open the Shadow tab and select White. Reduce the value of the transparency parameter to 32%. Select the top rectangle and go to the Fill and Line menu. Click on the Fill button and select the already used color for all gradient stops. For the middle gradient stop, click on the Fill button again and select the More Colors parameter, and in the menu that appears, left-click and drag gradient stop up to a lighter shade and click OK. Copy the style with the keyboard shortcut Ctrl+Shift+C with the left mouse button. Select the bottom element of the column and apply the fill with the keyboard shortcut Ctrl+Shift+V. For the fourth column, we perform the same operations. Select the ellipse, recolor it with the eyedropper tool. Select the top rectangle, recolor it and copy the style to the bottom one. Select the last ellipse and select gradient fill for it. Delete the middle one gradient stop. For the left one, use the eyedropper to select the orange color from the logo, and for the right one, the pink color from the other side. In the Direction menu, select the required preset linear diagonal. Select the rectangle with the left mouse button. Click on the Fill button and select the colors already used for the gradient stop. For the middle gradient stop, click on the Fill button again and select the More Colors parameter, and in the menu that appears, left-click and drag gradient stop up to a lighter shade and click OK. Copy the style with the keyboard shortcut Ctrl+Shift+C with apply the fill with the keyboard shortcut Ctrl+Shift+V. The columns are ready. The block with logos is no longer useful to us. We can delete it. Now all columns have the same height. Let's bring them into line with the values. Hold down the Control key with the left mouse button and click on the rectangle, ellipse and text block to select them. Now holding down the Shift key so that the movement is vertical, with the left mouse button I drag the blocks a little up. And I increase the size of the rectangle from below to close the empty space that has appeared. Let's do the same for the rest of the columns. TikTok. Twitch. And Instagram. Ready. Let's add the value of the year to the slide. In the drawing menu, select text box and left click on the slide and write 2019 in it. Select the text with the Control-A keyboard shortcut, select the font Montserrat Black and increase the height using the Increase Font Size button to 24 points. In the paragraph menu, click on the item text direction and select the third value to expand the text block. Move it to the guides with the left mouse button and align it with the arrow keys. Let's add information to the slide to draw special attention of the audience, to emphasize that the YouTube audience has grown by 3% over the year. In the drawing menu, select text box and by clicking the left mouse button on the slide we will write in it YouTube audience grew by 3% over the past 12 months. I select all the text with the keyboard shortcut Control-A and select the Montserrat font. Align the text block to the left slide guide. We increase the right border of the text block and now increase the text size using the Increase Font Size button to 24 points. Great, our subtitle is ready. But in order to visually distinguish between two text blocks, select the title with the Control-A key combination and in the paragraph menu, click on the line spacing item and select line spacing option and set the parameter equal to 1 in the corresponding section. Let's see what we get. Great, I like the result. We return to the slide. Let's duplicate it. Change the value of the year 2020. Let's change the value of the YouTube column in accordance with the tabular data. Holding the Control key with the left mouse button, I click on the rectangle, ellipse and text block to select them. Now holding down the Shift key so that the movement is vertical, with the left mouse button I drag the blocks a little up. And I increase the size of the rectangle from below to close the empty space that has appeared. We change the text block for the second column and, having selected the elements, move them down accordingly. We do the same for the third column, moving it up in accordance with the increased value and closing the empty space with a rectangle. For the fourth column, Twitch, move the items down. And for the last, Instagram, up. Let's highlight the main value for the YouTube column. To do this, increase the font size to 20 points and select the font Montserrat Black. Highlight in red and the subheading grew by 3%. Great. Now, holding the Control key with the left mouse button, I select our two slides on the left and go to the Transitions tab and click on Morph. Let's launch the presentation with the Shift F5 key combination. I like. But there are some minor flaws. For the fourth column, you need to reduce the bottom border of the rectangle. And in general, there is a lot of empty space below. It is necessary to move all our elements in order to more evenly distribute the content across the slide. Reduce the bottom border of the rectangle. Select all 5 columns with values and move them down while holding down the Shift key. We also move the elements on the first slide. Let's check again. Amazing. And the final touch. Let's choose the lightest gray shade for the background. And in the Format Background menu on the right, click on the Fill button and select the desired color. For the first slide too. Ready. Let's take a look at the final result. So, friends, today we made a beautiful and modern slide. And we learned how to visualize boring tabular data and make it more visual, draw the attention of listeners to those numbers that you want to focus on. If this is your first time on this channel, make sure you subscribe, share with your friends and don't forget to hit the bell icon to get notified. Well done for watching this video to the end. Hope to see you in the next video and thanks for watching.